So, welcome to our evening meditation session, those here and also online. So, let's settle into our meditation. Being established our comfortable sitting position, aligning our body with balance, poise, symmetry, allowing a composure of mind and body. Eyes gently closed, helping to bring awareness within. Having our initial deep, relaxing, letting go breath. Breathing out tension from the body. And also letting go of issues, worries, concerns of the happening of the day. Putting aside roles and responsibilities. Giving the mind a break from engaging into the activity of thinking. As we use meditation for being and knowing. Developing that mindful mode of simply noticing and knowing. Knowing in the present moment in a calm, objective, receptive, attentive way, and particularly using our breath as our reference point for the present. Firstly, feeling into the body, sensing this platform of experience, the body. Feeling a few contact sensations. Feet connecting with the floor. Body with the cushion, chair, meditation stool. Hands resting in our lap. Relaxing shoulders, chest, abdomen, belly. Allowing the body to breathe itself freely. Flow of breath and energy. Awareness of our face, the air connecting with our face. Some light coming in through the closed eyelids. Into that lightness, brightness, or blankness. A few background sounds of the day fading into evening. Not engaging into the activity of thinking, but rather bringing awareness to the breath. Feel that natural inflow, outflow sensation. Collecting mindful energy, focusing that energy through attention onto each breath. Developing collectedness, focus, concentration, samadhi, coalescence of mind. Feeling each breath in each moment. Always returning back to the breath if we get distracted. Practicing being present. Enabling calm, ease, and inner joy and tranquility. Please help yourself to tea, biscuits, and we can have some reflections. Kirsten, do you want to invite the whoever's out there in? Evening, Daphne. But firstly, thank you to Brendan for looking after the group last Thursday. Thank you, Brendan.
Thank you.
Nice to have some people that can look after the group when I'm not here. I'm usually here, but now I can maybe not be here at times. So last week I spent the week from Saturday early afternoon to then Saturday morning up at Dharma Realm Gold Coast Buddhist Monastery on a retreat, 7-day retreat. So apart from Brendan, anyone else has been up there? No? Oh, any of you been?
Visited.
Okay, yeah, good. Yes, well, it's quite an amazing place. And I was thinking to myself, one doesn't have to buy an air ticket and go overseas to go to a different realm, a different sort of place. Certainly Buddhist monastery, just need to drive 40 minutes up the motorway, or even 30 minutes, and then it's about 10 minutes off the motorway from the Rabina exit. And it was like going into a different world, a different realm. Certainly, I think the place is really well set up. It's been established for I think probably 20 years or so. So really well set up in terms of the 30 acres, 30 odd acres, forested land with lots of she oak trees, a few gum trees, and then backs onto a more forested area. Though in front of it are, because it's at the end of the road, or like comes off the road, but housing estates and quite sort of big houses, but certainly really well structurally established. with huge big meditation hall, like Buddhist Buddha hall, they call it, the Buddha hall, and dining hall that can seat around about 200 people. There's nuns accommodation, as it's a nuns monastery. There's five nuns there of Chinese sort of origin or the background. And there's also a house, a large house that belongs to the people that used to own the property, or the people that actually bought the property to give it as a monastery. Chinese woman, who she's not really there, and there's a house that was in that sort of area as well, where the monks were staying. So it was run by two Buddhist monks, with they're based in America, and with evening sessions from Reverend Heng Shore. So three monks, but two monks, were younger monks, were running the program. And I was fortunate that they invited me to stay in the house with them. So I had my own bedroom, unlike the other guys who had shared a dormitory. And women staying there shared a women's dormitory. So I was sort of happy to be able to have a room to be in. And also there's some other sort of buildings on the place where they do they have a weekly Sunday morning yoga session with a bit of meditation as well. The place is really, really well set up. It was actually before they built the meditation retreat sort of monastery facilities, it was a healing center. And so there's some old buildings left over from that. The retreat I found quite intense. It was like a deep, full immersion into their monastic life, which was interesting, challenging, and also I mentioned when we had a closing circle on the Friday evening, I mentioned that it was really special to be able to be in a monastery and part of how the monastery functions. So with the nuns doing chanting and sort of having a bit of a close look into their life and their lifestyle, and doing things with them. So it was special in the sense that often retreats aren't like that. They're even if they're run in a monastery, it's like separate sort of area, and you don't really sort of connect with the monks or nuns there, and it's sort of run separately. But we were fully immersed into the monastic feel, which is quite special. You don't need to go to China or anywhere else for that. It's just 40 minutes up the road there. The routine was full, and which was part of the intensity of it. So it was very, very structured routine. So I'd get up at 4:30 in the morning, do some exercises, stretching, make a cup of coffee, and then walk over to the Buddha hall around about 5:15 for the 5:30 morning session, which was basically chanting. A lot of it was in Chinese. They have chanting books so that you can, and with the phonetics in English, so that you can chant along. Some of the chants were also in English, so you could read what was or chant actually in English what it was the discourse was about, and also quite a lot of bowing. And they don't bow usually in the way that we might bow. That, as you might see Sonia bowing beginning and ending of our sessions, but they have a like a cushion stool, and they sort of bow down onto that. So from a standing position. So they're standing and then going down and up and then down, and several times, and also several times during the chanting as well. So the chanting in the morning was for about an hour until about 6:30, and women on one side of the hall, men on the other side of the hall, the two monks from America. They're out just visiting for about a month or so. They're going back shortly, but very good chanters, and it was all sort of had microphones, so it was really, really good to hear them chanting. Very, very well trained in that. And after the chanting, they led yoga. So they did yoga for about 10, 15 minutes, saying it's really important to stretch the body, doing yoga, both for being able to be supple enough for all the bowing and also for meditation as well. And then after the 15 minutes or so of yoga, there was about 10 to 15 minutes of meditation. And following on that, then back to various areas. There was chores. There was a chap who's been living there. He's organized the chores, Wade, and he's actually going to be going with the monks back to America to possibly ordain. And he organized the chores. So chore period till about 7:15. And then there was, if you wanted some breakfast, didn't have to have breakfast, but if you wanted a bit of breakfast, go to the dining hall. And then that was from about quarter past 7 till about I think about 8 o'clock, and then back in the Buddha hall for more chanting, again for about an hour or so, which the monks included in that circumambulation, so walking around. And generally we'd walk in a file, and we go out and then around and down and around there's a stupa, which is like a structure that has Buddha relics in it, or special relics, enlightened person's relics, walking around that 3 times. And then then walking the path through the monastery down into what's called the Arahant Trail, the Enlightenment Trail, and walking through that. So walking through the forest and chanting at the same time. We'd chant a mantra over and over again. The retreat was about developing the heart of listening, and particularly the Bodhisattva. So Mahayana Buddhism, particularly emphasizing the Bodhisattva ideal. Bodhisattvas are beings that are sort of enlightenment beings, but vow to help others, save other people, help them to achieve enlightenment before the bodhisattva itself themselves sort of go to full sort of Buddhahood, nirvana. And so chanting Kuan Yin's name. So Kuan Yin Bodhisattva is a bodhisattva of compassion. So together, and the monks were leading it, and they had like a mobile speaker, so you could hear the words. Namo Kuan Shi Yin Pu Sa, which is homage to Kuan Yin Bodhisattva in Chinese. So chanting that as we walked round and round and around and around, and then back into the hall. Sometimes sitting outside under a walkway, and sitting for about maybe 20 minutes or so meditation, and then back into the hall. And then there was the nuns would do a special chant for the meal offering, and then that was around about 10:30. So there was a couple of hours of chanting and circumambulation and some sitting meditation, and then the nuns and the two monks as well, this special chanting for the meal offering, and then filing down to the meal hall, and then some little bit of chanting before the meal, and then the monks take the meal, the nuns and lay men, lay women. And after the meal, there's a little bit more chanting, and then back to, and there's actually some more chores, tidying up and things. Then back to your space for about an hour, usually time to take a rest or have a shower or something. And then at 1:30 back in the hall again, the Buddha hall, for some more, same process, some more chanting, standing up, sometimes kneeling, bowing, and more sort of walking around the monastery forest again, doing the chanting, the Kuan Yin mantra, and then finishing up around about 2:30, and then you've got 30 minutes break, go to the toilet, and then back into the different area, library area. And then the two monks were, each day they do a presentation, also as a circle, any questions, answering people's questions and so forth. And sharing sort of ideas around Buddhism and answering questions that people certainly had. And then 4:30, there was a chance to have an afternoon snack or something, if you needed that. And then 5:30, back in the Buddha hall again. There's some more chanting and bowing until 6:30. Take a break for then setting things up, because moving these bowing cushions away, because Reverend Heng Shaw, the senior American Buddhist monk, he was then going to be coming, doing sharing some stories and also doing some singing. He writes music and plays the guitar, writes these Dharma songs. So setting that up, and then you've got another maybe 10 minutes to go outside, come back in for 7 o'clock, and then that evening session till about from 7 till about 8:30ish, and then back to your room to have a shower, do some meditation, do some reading. I do a bit of reading, and then rest around about 9:30, sometimes 10 o'clock. Sometimes I'll be talking to the monks. So that, and then up again at 4:30. So that was 7 days. The food was, wonderful, lovely vegetarian food. So I ate more there than what I do at home. I think I lost 2 or 3 kilos in weight just with all the activity. So lots and lots of movement. So it's a matter of getting used to that sort of movement. And it wasn't movement in terms of heavy lifting that I might do here, but just lots of walking and bowing and so forth. So it was an exercise, a physical exercise, as much as it was an exercise for the voice, chanting with the group. And there was about 25 people altogether. There was a few people came and went. There were people that had actually come from America as well to be there. People had come from China to be there, other parts of Australia, as well as locals. There's local people that go to the monastery and help out. And some of them would go back home to sleep. Others were staying there, but certainly that sense of lots of group sessions and chanting together as one voice. There wasn't so much in terms of a lot of explanation about what we were chanting and why we were chanting it, but my sense was that it's as a Buddhist monastery, as a Mahayana Buddhist monastery, which is more focused on devotional faith-based practice, and also beyond, say, the very psychological, practical side of Buddhism, or the Buddhist teachings that you find here, say Theravāda Buddhism, that has a lot to do with more the esoteric, sort of mystical aspects of Buddhism. So more Buddhism than, say, directly the teachings of Siddhartha Gautama, because they recognize other Buddhas from other periods of time, and Buddhas in other dimensions. And so that there was one chant that we did quite a lot. It was like the chant that we were hearing this evening, Amitofo, which is the Chinese version of Amitabha, Buddha of the of radiance, who has a paradise called the Western Paradise, and if you chant his name, then you can be reborn in his realm of bliss, sort of paradise realm. If you chant his name, then at the time of your death, then he'll appear before you with retinue, and you'll be going to, in spirit, to his lovely Buddha realm world domain, and where there's no suffering, and it's all sort of lovely and wonderful. So again, it's more of a faith and in a way type of bhakti yoga, which is bhakti as in like devotional type of practice, which the practical side of that is it uplifts the mind, it inspires the mind, and people have that as a motivation and also as a meditation as well. So if you're chanting like a mantra over and over again, it becomes very meditative. Your mind's not getting caught up in what's happening on the weekend, thinking about other stuff. It's very focused, and even a sense of bliss and joy in that chant, and the chanting the name of a Buddha. And so that's more of, say, Mahayana Buddhism. And so I was interested to feel into that, sense into that, and but I could also see why there's not that many Western people that connect to it. Often Westerners that have been brought up in a sort of a Christian tradition that where there is a sense of devotion and belief, and people go, okay, I want to have a spiritual practice, but not have something that I'm needing to take on faith or believe in something which I can't fully understand or relate to. So less Westerners, which includes also the monastic tradition. There's a lot less men that ordain as Buddhist monks in the Mahayana tradition, and certainly a lot less Westerners, as opposed to, say, the Theravāda tradition, particularly through Ajahn Chah and the Forest Sangha, where there's quite a lot of Western monks and nuns, and that's certainly increasing with Western branch monasteries. In fact, these two monks, Venerable Jin Wei and Jin Chuan, they have a really good connection with Ajahn Chah's forest monks through Ajahn Sumedho, who's Ajahn Chah's most senior Western disciple. And there's a branch monastery close to their main monastery in Northern California. In fact, the land was given by Master Hua, who was the meditation master that went to America in about 1962 and sort of established this particular school. And around that time, there's a lot of young people, dropouts, hippies, so forth, that became interested in Buddhism and what he was offering. And he was very devoted to his had like a great an oath, a determination to have Buddhism translated into English from Chinese. There's a lot of suttas and discourses that Westerns just don't know about. So he set up a translation school, and people had to learn Chinese to be able to translate these discourses, these suttas. So it's a ongoing project. And at that time, there was, and probably over the next 20, 30 years, quite a lot of people that did ordain, but in time they've left or they've died. And so there's not that many Westerners that are left in the monastery. Their city of 10,000 Buddhas, which I visited in about 1990. I've mentioned that before. And also Master Hua came to Amravati Monastery in England, where I was based. And he was doing like a European tour, gave some teachings. And at that time, he mentioned that his intention was to try and help more understanding between the Theravāda school of Buddhism and the Mahayana school. So the Mahayana, northern Buddhism, northern countries, China, Korea, Japan, Taiwan, and Theravāda, southern Buddhism, Sri Lanka, Burma, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia. He said the north should stop moving north and the south should stop moving south. They should turn around and come together and have more of a whole approach to Buddhism. And that was sort of like his mission, which these two monks are very, very aware of, and that's why they're interested in myself and also what we're doing, and also the connection with the Western monks of Ajahn Chah, Ajahn Sumedho. And so Ajahn the Master Wa, his little photographs there, gave a huge piece of land on the side of a mountain to Ajahn Sumedho to establish a branch monastery close to city of 10,000 Buddhas. That's called Abhayagiri Monastery. And I've not visited there, but the abbot that I was under in Thailand, who was a disciple of Ajahn Chah, so Ajahn Chah, then he's one of his American students, actually Canadian, Ajahn Pasano, is the abbot there. So he went from Thailand to America and set that up together with Ajahn Amaro, who's an English monk. I was with him in England, Amarawati. They established that together. Ajahn Amaro later on went back to England and is the abbot of Amarawati, as Ajahn Sumedho sort of stepped back from a lot of the management roles. But there's a lovely connection that the Master Wa's students, disciples, monastics have with the Ajahn Chah Western monastics. And certainly Heng Shure, the more senior American monk, he's been very much connected with the Forest Sangha Western monks and spent some time at some of the branch monasteries in Thailand as well, and has lots of stories about that. So the evenings was Reverend Heng Shure telling stories about his pilgrimage, 3 steps, 1 bow, bowing across America with his monk friend. So every 3 steps, they just take 1 bow, 3 steps, 1 bow. Took them a couple of years to do that. Full-on experience, quite challenging, and talking about being threatened by people, being poisoned by people, even where some people came by and sort of gave them some food that had been laced with LSD. And just one of the monks was sort of like tripping out, ending up sort of on the ground. And so interesting to get some of these stories, and also stories about Master Wa as well, as an amazing senior meditation master. But I have invited, as you probably know, I sent an email out yesterday, invited the 2 monks to be here for next Thursday. They're only in Australia a short while before they're going back to America. So to be here and to offer some reflections to the group on spiritual friendship in spiritual life, spiritual practice. I could really see that they have a really good connection. They resonate really well together. They support each other. They led the retreat together. They sort of have, in a way, like a mind connection, so that they sometimes finish each other's words. And I could see it was really helpful for them to be able to have the support of each other. So if one forgot to say something, the other would say, say it. And so a great type of relationship, what's called Kalyana Mitta, a beautiful friendship, beautiful friend, beautiful friendship, which is highly recommended in spiritual practice. A story where Venerable Ananda and another monk are taking delight. Venerable Ananda was the Buddha's attendant for many, many years, delighting in companionship in spiritual practice, spiritual life. And the Buddha came upon them and said, "Oh, you seem very happy and joyful. What have you been talking about?" And Venerable Ananda said, "Well, we feel that companionship, spiritual companionship, friendship in spiritual life, spiritual practice is half the practice. If you've got a good companion, it's worth half the practice." And the Buddha said, "Ananda, don't speak like this, because I say unto you that spiritual companionship is the whole of the practice. That's how important it is." So that certainly I could see that with these 2 monks, and they can share some of their experiences about having a companion, having a good friend to practice with when they're here next Thursday. So hopefully you can come along and be part of that. If you can stay a bit later, because I said in the email that rather than finishing at 7:30, where they only then speak for maybe 20 minutes and 10 minutes of questions, stay a bit longer till 8 o'clock if you can, and share in that experience. we're actually out of time tonight. But certainly, if you have any questions next Thursday, do ask. Do ask. Not just about spiritual practice and friendship and companionship, but also any questions about Mahayana Buddhism, which is quite fascinating. I've been doing quite a bit of reading about Mahayana Buddhism as sort of an add-on to the foundation teachings of the Buddha in Theravāda Buddhism. So I certainly have some questions and things that I would need to have explained to me as well, because there's some things that I don't understand. I think, well, that's not rational, or that's a bit different, or is there a particular way of looking at that where that can make sense? So feel free to ask questions. So thanks for coming out tonight, and all being well, come along next Thursday. Bring a friend if you like. Bring a partner. See you next week. Thank you.